Okay, so let me start again then. Okay, so today we're going to focus on bank reconciliations in the first session. Then in the second session, we'll look at your debtors and creditors reconciliation. Now, before we start today, let's just quickly talk about the assignment. You have an assignment that is due on the 21st of September. Your answer paper as well as your question paper has been loaded on the student portal, so you can access it there. It's made up of 3 questions, which basically covers learning unit 1 and 2, which makes up a total of 100 marks. Now, what I want you to do in this assignment, anything where they ask you to explain it in your own words or give examples, which is viewed as theory, where you use someone else's information that they've already published. For those things, I want you to include in-text referencing as well as a reference list in your assignment. For the application type questions where you have to physically go do a bank reconciliation or go do a data's recon or data's list, those things are practical applications, and for accounting we don't reference those because you are taking the theory and you're applying it. So remember for the assignment just to reference specifically anything where you have to explain a concept, where you use your textbook, for example, as a source to use or to help you define a specific explanation. Now let's quickly look at the referencing just for accounting. Now in accounting, you'll see we use the Harvard referencing method. It is different to your other law modules that use the law referencing method. So in accounting, we do not use footnotes. We include the referencing physically on your Word document. So if it's an in-text reference and they ask you to put it in your own words or you have to paraphrase it, you would write the 2 authors' names. So our book's authors are Moritz and Hibbling. And then in brackets, you include the year that the book was published. Now, normally we use the most current year of the textbook when we do the referencing, even though you have an older version. Okay, and then you would paraphrase what they said. For example, they said that a bank reconciliation is used to detect fraud within a business. Okay, so it is written in your own words. It's not an exact replica of what's in the textbooks. If you do a direct quote, so that is I'm copying and pasting it from the textbook, then you would put it in inverted commas, and then behind it you would put again the 2 authors' names, comma, the year, and then on what page number you found this information, to show the person that's marking your assignment that you have taken it from the assignment or from a textbook. Now, if they ask you in the assignment to do it in your own words, you would follow the first paraphrasing or using your own words method as opposed to the direct quote. Then your reference list or bibliography would show the textbook details. Now, in this case, it would be your 2 authors and their initials. So it's the surname, initials, and you'll see between the initials there's full stops. Then you show the year the book was published, then the title of the book, so what's on the front cover, you do that in italics. You indicate the edition. Now the 2021 book is already the 9th edition of that book. Then you show where it's been published and who the publisher is. And that's how you do the bibliography for that. Okay, so this is if you use your textbook specifically for referencing. I will put the reference guide on VC Learn for you guys if you want to use, for example, websites to help you doing your assignments and stuff like that, so you can see exactly how you should reference those things. Okay, so the learning outcomes hasn't changed. So let's quickly see, in the previous session, we talked about the 7 steps you have to follow. So you start with your previous month's bank reconciliation and compare it to this month's bank statement. So what we are trying to achieve, we want to see if any outstanding deposits, any outstanding checks or errors have actually been corrected in the current month's bank statement. And as you see them flowing through, you tick them off. If they haven't gone through, we circle them. Okay, so step 2 and 3 is where we now compare your bank statement to either your cash book receipts or your cash book payments, and we apply the same principle. If they appear on both the bank statement and the cash book receipts or cash book payments, we'll tick them off. If they only appear on one of the two, you circle them. Then once we've circled those items, which talks about step 4, then we go to the additional information to see what information do they provide about those items. So was it an error? Is there, so generally the additional information would either be errors that happened between the bank or the business, or it would be something where there was, for example, direct deposit into the bank or a check got reversed and the business was not aware of it. They only realize that once they see the bank statement. Now, in that step 5, you then have to identify whether it goes to your bank reconciliation or whether it goes to your cash book receipts or cash book payments. Now, the general rule, if it's on the bank statement but does not appear on the cash book receipts, cash book payments, then you go do an adjusting entry and go add it onto your cash book receipts, cash book payments. If it appears on your cash book receipts, for example, deposits, and your cash book payments, checks, but is not reflected on your bank statement, those items would go to your bank reconciliation. And then the last item is the errors. Now you have to check who made the error. If the business made the error, we go correct it either in your cash book receipts or cash book payment, depending on where the error happens. If the error happens in your bank statement, then you go put it on your bank reconciliation. So normally your reconciling items is items that needs to still be reflected by the bank. Okay, so that is sort of what you have to remember. Then step 6 was now dealing with the circled entry. So 4 to 6 is that whole process. And then 7 is balancing your bank statement balance back to your general ledger statement. Now this is just the format of your bank reconciliation to help you guys out because you haven't done this before. This is just your framework to study it till you get the hang of it. Because I know some people like lists or tables to help them contextualize the information. So this is why we've provided for this. Just the main things you need to remember, make sure whether they tell you it's a favorable or unfavorable balance, because that would mean whether it's a positive or a negative in your table here. And if you do not actually reconcile to the correct balance, you generally either made a symbol error, so you either put a plus or a minus, or you just have the incorrect amount, so you accidentally swapped figures around. Those are the most common mistakes when students do these type of transactions. Okay, so let's look at question 1.5. So we're going to discuss it as a group. So let's quickly open our textbooks. It's on page Okay, it's on page 22 and 23. So in your textbooks, what they've done is they've given you a bank reconciliation statement for June. So that is the previous month's bank reconciliation. Then they've also given you a bank reconciliation for July. And then they've given you some additional information. Now let's quickly see what is required from you. So they tell you to study the information given and answer the following questions. So make a list of 5 errors that the bookkeeper has made in preparing the bank reconciliations. So based on what you can see in the bank reconciliation, what has the bookkeeper done wrong if you refer back to your 7 steps? And then explain what the correct procedure should have been in each case. So based on whatever you've identified is incorrect, what should they have done to actually reflect it correctly? Okay, so that's the first one. And then the second question is, do you think the bookkeeper is effectively controlling the cash and finance operations of the business? Why? And discuss by highlighting at least 3 other points other than those mentioned. Okay, so what I want you to do is just go read through the information And then in the chat function, so we're going to do it in the chat function today, all of us together. You can type in there what you have identified to be incorrect in this. So we'll do the chat in the chat function, or if you want, you can put on your mic and then just explain to us what you've identified. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes just to familiarize yourself with the information, and then we'll start the discussion. Okay. Do you guys have any questions before you start?